Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. This is the monthly meeting of the El Dorado Hills Community Council. So we're going to go ahead and start out then with our leadership team giving us a brief introduction as to what their roles are on the Leadership Council, and then we'll move on to recognition of district commissioners and committee members. So why don't we start over here with Robert?
I'm Bob Williams, representing District 2.
John Davey, I'm the chair of the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. You're probably getting feedback from this device. And we're a group of resident volunteers that examine proposed development projects in El Dorado Hills and provide feedback to the process.
Oh, that's right. My name is Lauren Sumimoto. I'm the co-chair of the El Dorado County Youth Commission and the student body president at Oak Ridge High School.
I'm John Heidel, District 1 Supervisor.
I'm Cindy Munt, Supervisor Heidel's assistant, and I do the community information and outreach for the council.
I'm Mike Lilienthal, Deputy Chief of the El Dorado Hills Fire Department, currently assigned to the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services, and I chair the Public Safety Committee.
Good. Do we have anybody else online that I'm not aware of? Let's see.
Tina's on there.
Okay, so we're now going to recognize any of the volunteers that serve on any of our committees or commissions. And so let's start within the room. So Raylene, can you please tell us what your role is? Have you got a microphone? Okay, just got to get them distributed.
Well, I'm Raylene Nunn. I'm a commissioner on Commission on Aging, District 1 representative. John Heidel's appointed to the Commission on Aging. And I'm also a California senior senator for the California Senior Legislature.
Raylene? And I don't see anyone else in the audience, so we'll turn to our Zoom meeting. Tita, you have the floor. Can you introduce what your role is?
Peter Bladen, El Dorado County Commission on Aging, and I'm also on the senior legislature, California Senior Legislature, as a senior assembly member.
Thank you. And we do have at least one planning commissioner on here, but since he doesn't represent District 1, I'm not going to provide a special acknowledgement for that. Well, District 1 or District 2, right?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, Andy.
well, I don't know if Andy wants to say anything or not, but Andy, if you want to say something, you're welcome to say something. I just wanted to recognize you are attending, that's all, but yeah.
Andy Nevis, District 4 Planning Commissioner. We do have, I think, about 900 District 4 residents in El Dorado Hills, so maybe
That's
I qualify. Anyway, I'm here mostly just to listen in, though.
Well, thank you for your attendance. We appreciate that. All right. So with that, I'm not seeing anyone else unless you're seeing somebody, Cindy, that I'm not seeing. Okay, so, all right. So we're going to move on to item 2, adoption of the regular meeting agenda. Does anyone on the leadership team have any comments on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll accept the agenda as submitted. We'll move on to item 3, public comments. And this is the segment of the meeting that we invite the public to provide comments or questions on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. We'd ask either that you have one of these microphones present, because you don't talk into the microphone and people on Zoom can't hear you. And I guess that's the best way, because we don't have the podium mic tonight. It doesn't look like. Oh, it is there? Just sitting here? Okay. Okay, so there's a hand mic at the podium too, if you feel more comfortable coming up. If you have papers sometimes to go through, it's easier to put them on a surface. But so at this point, anyone in the conference room here who has anything to present relative to comments and or questions that are not on tonight's agenda, please. Certainly. Okay. Go ahead, Lenny. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Lenny Bacani. I live in Crescent Hills and El Dorado Hills, and I just want to talk to you about something that's very minor in the whole scope of things that are going on, but I'm real passionate about this, and it's beautification. and to see litter. It really bothers me. I wish we had more time to talk about things like planting trees and beautification of our center medians, which I've talked to Kevin at the CSD about. But anyway, what I want to talk to you tonight about is on El Dorado Hills Boulevard, cross street, west side, cross street is Woody. North and south of that intersection, about 3 or 4 years ago, County Roads, and there's never anyone here from County Roads because I'd like to talk to them personally. County Roads cut down a bunch of trees. They started some tree trimming. They never finished. They left the stumps on the side of the road. There are bushes that are overgrown. There are dead trees there. The project was never finished. They were doing a good job when they paved this section of El Dorado Hills Boulevard of clearing everything back. I have called now, the reason I'm here is I have called now every month for 2 years. For 2 years, I'll repeat that, to county roads. I always get somebody, I use the 530 number or the 642-4909 or the 4919. I always do get somebody or a recording and they do call back. What's frustrating is the last 2 times I've called back, the gentleman said, obviously they can see it on their computer. He goes, let me bring this up. Oh yeah, that looks bad. There's trees laying there. There's old dead trees. Those bushes do need to be, it's like an 1/8 of a mile area that needs to be done. It's probably a 1-day job with a 3 or 4 man crew. But what really bothered me is the last time I called, he said, yeah, we're aware of that. And we're not going to get around to that anytime soon. And I said, what is anytime soon, sir? A month, 2 months? He said, huh, a year or 2 years. And that is not acceptable. And I'm kind of starting to wonder what County Roads does. So that's my only complaint tonight. And it's very frustrating that I feel like if I call the number and tell them, and I've even said, can you have a supervisor come out and I'll show you exactly where it is. He goes, we know where it is. We know it's bad. So, and then they always pull this, yeah, we're real busy up in Lake Tahoe. Well, we pay taxes too, and we're the biggest town in El Dorado County. And I never see county roads doing anything here. So I'm kind of wondering how much of our tax money is spent on county roads and what they are doing for that money. Thanks, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Lenny. Good questions, and I can provide some answers, but I'm not sure I want to take the
And I
time to
would
go
be
through all
happy,
of it tonight.
John, if you ever want to meet at
Oh.
that intersection at Woody and El Dorado Hills Boulevard to
Yeah.
show you exactly, but you'll see all the
What I
dead
want to
trees
do
laying
is,
there.
is contact our direct contact, who's basically the director of road maintenance, and find out where it is in the pecking list. If you recall, we've had a lot of issues with flooding and trees down, and they went in, cleaned up roads, and they're still trying to get caught up from all of that. And now that the approaching snow season there, they're trying to do a lot of road maintenance and stuff. So I think if you looked at the improvements on Green Valley Road, where they went back and resurfaced it, restriped it, I think most of us would agree that's in much better condition as now than it was before. There were some issues during the actual construction period with things, but that's where they're present. But I don't think it would be a misrepresentation to say that they have adequate staffing to do everything they need to do, because they give us comparisons of what their staffing was 10 years ago, and that staffing is at the same level as it was 10 years ago. But yet the resources are not there to provide more money for that staffing. So we're in this difficult situation of how do we find the funding to do these things. I will mention that the Board of Supervisors put $6 million of general fund into this particular fiscal year to try to do more of road maintenance. But obviously that's across the whole county. And it turns out when you really look at it, $6 million doesn't go very far. That's the unfortunate part. But I'll get a hold of the director, see if we can't set something up to have a meeting here and just go out and look at it and talk about it. But we'll do our best, right? Thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
The comment
Sure.
not related to my,
sure.
brought this up now for the last 2 meetings, and it has to do with the 24% increase of Melrose charges against the senior community heritage. It's unfortunate that, and this is my opinion, but it's shared by many people at Heritage, that we understand that the value of having special elections and special bond issues for the fire department, for school districts, and the like. This one is particularly bothersome, and it's really a shame that those other efforts will be tainted, at least in some of our minds, because of what amounts to being a a blank check to a developer to recoup additional monies that they had already, that have already been spent, basically. Just for the record, let me just give everybody just a brief synopsis of what I'm talking about. In 2014, a special facilities district was created by the Board of Supervisors for an amount of financing not to exceed $50 million. In 2018, the bond issue for that year included a statement by Lennar and certified by the county that the amount of money that would be needed to complete pertinent to this particular amount was not $50 million, but $28.2 million. As of today, because a lot of the bonds today are being sold, I understand effectively today, we're up to about $40 million, which means that in essence, Lennar is going to gain $12.8 million above the amount of money that they had said would be necessary for completion. It makes absolutely no sense to us. We have tried to reach out and appeal that decision by the Board of Supervisors without avail. It's probably too late to do anything at this point. But I just hope that the candidates or supervisor, either online or in this room today, will take note in future when such bonds from developers are proposed, that you make sure that it's just not a blank check development, and make sure that, again, my belief is that bond usage should be made and allocated toward things like the fire department and school districts and real, truly public benefit and not developer benefit activities. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to that again.
Thank you. And I have talked with our auditor controller, and he said he would respond to your email. And then I was going to set up a meeting to have those discussions with you because he's telling me slightly different information. So I just need to get the two aligned so that I understand it.
And John, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Also with the other two supervisors that voted for it.
Yep. I'm waiting for Joe's response. He said he would send it to you, and then he was going to.
Well, Joe and I have been on
Understood it.
communications almost daily.
Okay.
On this front. It's not a lack of
I understand.
communication. Joe's a good man and very transparent. I'm not going to put out there to say it's very unfortunate that the nature of this particular bond is in effect going to penalize senior community. And this time next year, or actually in June, when tax bill come out and they find that the Mellory's fees have increased by 24%, that is going to perhaps force some of our residents to have to reconsider whether or not they can afford to continue to live there. Truly unfortunate. That's a human
Agreed.
cost.
Agreed.
That should not be
The county has a bond committee. Joe Harn is the manager of the bond committee. He recommended to the board that these bonds be approved consistent with the previous agreement. So that's where we need to have the discussion. So I understand more of the specifics because it hasn't all come out. So anyway, thank you. Okay, anyone else present in the conference room who has a open forum item? A public comment item. Okay, so seeing none, I'm not seeing anyone with hands raised unless you saw somebody that before. All right, so with, wait.
Oh, no, it's gone now.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to actually item 5 because we have no guest speaker tonight. So the first item here, we've been regularly providing updates as best we understood them on the Central El Dorado Hills Specific Plan project. There is a handout that the CSD put out that's kind of a summary of this. There's been articles in the both the Village Life and the Mountain Democrat. But this came directly from the CSD, so this is probably the best interpretation of what they had. I tried to summarize it here, that when I used the word acquisition, I meant that's what they're going to be deeded. They're only going to purchase 55 acres. There's an additional 11 acres in there that's a direct benefit, essentially a donation, but they're going to be acquiring 66 acres. So I used the word acquisition, not purchase, for clarity, but there's different numbers involved. But the bottom line is If this goes forward and it's got a 45-day due diligence escrow process, it will culminate, if it's successful, with 66 acres being deeded to the El Dorado Hills Community Services District for a $10 million price tag. And the CSD has provided information on where those funds would come from in their meetings, et cetera, et cetera. The other important thing to mention is that there is a potential for an acquisition of some portion or all of the remaining 41.5 acres within an 18-month period, but that has to be determined based upon the CSD's ability to raise funds or decide how they would make that purchase. And that comes in a little bit, $240,000 an acre comes in a little bit under $10 million. So if you looked at the total picture, it'd be 98 acres minus 3, I think, if you consider the site for the scene. So 95 acres of the original defined golf course area for $20 million roughly total purchase price. So that's kind of what it comes down to. So that would be the net acquisition. And like I said, there's a lot more information here. The CSD has held meetings, but the only reason I carried this here is we have been talking about this for a long time. We were anticipating a meeting in El Dorado Hills at the Holy Trinity Church to talk about it, the first of 2 public meetings. We have been directed, basically advised, to continue on that path for that meeting until such time as this is completed. The proponent wants to keep the project active and keep it moving. You can read that a couple of different ways. The fact that the board has approved staff to move forward with this due diligence period doesn't mean that everything's going to come out saying, yeah, this is still the deal we want. Sometimes things get discovered in that period. It's a discovery process. So from my perspective, there's no certainty that this will happen, but I'd say it's very, very highly probable. But I've seen things that didn't quite get to that desired escrow date. If it's stretched out, for instance, because there's more time required, that could affect things. I don't know where it's going to end up. Right now, we're parallel path. I don't want anybody to be misled that the county stopped processing this, because we haven't. Makes it difficult on county staff because they have a lot of different priorities, and this one doesn't seem to be as high a priority if this acquisition is going to go forward. But again, there's no dotted line signed yet. That remains to happen. So we'll all have to just kind of monitor for this period to determine how it ends up. So that's the first item on the agenda tonight. The second item on the agenda, I want to make a retraction from the statement that EDH 52 has withdrawn the project. I got clarification today. And this comes from a result of trying to be as transparent as we can. If we get information, we want to make sure we tell people about it, not hide it. I got different inputs from staff. I'll leave it at that. But we did get a letter today, and actually it was 3:50 this afternoon from the proponents with a clarification. I'm going to read you the clarification because it's somewhat interpretive in terms of what you think this might mean. But it says they were emailing to clarify that they're not withdrawing the application and plan to continue processing entitlements for the project as currently proposed. So that would mean the apartments that are proposed on EDH 52 side, plus the small commercial center, plus the warehouse on the other side. That's what this reads at. It said, and it goes on to say, previously, EDH 52, General Partners, and Costco were joint applicants for the project, which encompasses multifamily, et cetera, et cetera. Moving forward, EDH 52 GP, the owner, will be the sole applicant for the entire site. So clearly, the interpretation that I got from a staff member that they were withdrawing is not true. They are staying active with that particular project, but it's going to proceed under the sole direction of EDH 52 and not Costco as a partner from the standpoint of the EIR and stuff. It doesn't say that Costco isn't going to come to El Dorado Hills. Don't misread that. It just says that EDH 52 is now going to be the sole applicant moving this forward through the CEQA process. So that's the best interpretation I can give you. Clearly, things are starting to change a little bit. And I guess that's the biggest takeaway is it's not business as usual. They have changed their application. But until today, I was not advised of this change. So I'm not sure what's going on necessarily, but it's just a communication thing, I think, more than anything. So that's a clarification on that. EDH 52 is not withdrawing their application so that everybody understands it. So yeah, question. Yeah, Bill.
Great, thank you. Um, What's your own personal opinion about Costco going in there or in that immediate area? Do you feel that's going to happen? Or do you feel that it's not going to happen? Personally, sir?
I can only hope, because I don't know. I mean, the truth is, I don't know. I hope it moves forward. Because I think for everyone to understand what's in that CEQA document and the pluses and minuses, and more importantly, probably circulation from a transportation standpoint, what is El Dorado Hills DOT or El Dorado County DOT planning for the full circulation package? There's been some information out there. There's been conjecture on things that need to happen or connections that would come down into central El Dorado Hills. If that direct entry is not needed from the standpoint of residential housing, I'm guessing it would change the sizing, if nothing else, of what that roadway would be to come down into that core part of what's now central El Dorado Hills. It goes through basically almost all the 41 and a half acres that's undetermined at this point. But if there were certain uses put in there, there would definitely have to be a roadway. But are the uses going to be the same demand in terms of traffic as what residential housing would be? And my answer is no, I doubt it, but it could be if it was a huge, some kind of a amusement park, amusement center, whatever, and that remains to be seen, because that 41 and a half acres as currently zoned could be sold tomorrow, subject to the 18-month agreement. But if the 18-month agreement fell apart, it could be sold tomorrow to some other entity. So a lot of unknowns at this point, but I personally hope it at least goes through the process so the public knows what the proposal is. I personally am a Costco shopper. I'll tell you that. I'm also a Sam's Club shopper. I appreciate both being close by. But the traffic getting back and forth down into Folsom is not the most desirable if you've got alternatives. So.
No, and I agree with that. Thank you, John. Very much a Costco shopper as well. And I just wanted to express to you an opinion that was expressed by a Costco employee when I was in there just a few days ago. And of course, it was extremely busy. And she said, "We need a new Costco." So anyway, thank you for your,
Those that were Costco shoppers, I think, would agree with that for the most part. Not all, but for the most part.
thank you for your interpretation.
Thank you, Bill.
So to put two things together, especially on the extension of Country Club.
Yeah.
there's potential there. So the agreement with the CSD is that with their purchase, if it occurs, of the 55 plus 11 donated, just that alone, you're looking at, I believe, a deed restriction for preserving the balance of the 41 acres as maintaining the RF zoning, that would not change if they sought it. So anything that would get developed there would have to comply with that zoning use. But there is a multitude of things that we discussed. That is an expensive road no matter how it gets built. And there's wetlands issues in there that I think we have pointed out when we review Central. That the Army Corps of Engineers obviously going to get in, and that it's just going to be a very expensive thing. And I know that with the Costco part of it with DDH 52, they show in their revised drawings for the proposed mixed-use retail and apartments that they show Country Club built out over a couple different iterations, but only that little small part from basically Tong Road into that. And I know the DOT has said that they had sought 2 signalized intersections there, and that that's a non-starter for the one next to the interchange. However, today I talked to Karen. I think that they are working on a solution for that right now with DOT. That's what Karen told me. So I don't know where that's at. We'll have more information about that but yeah, I know people are like, well, they'll still come back and build residential. Well, if this transpires the way it's laid out right now, then no, it will be recreational facilities, whatever zone, that's the zoning. So,
right.
But again, it all has to happen. It all has to fall in place. The agreements have to be made.
Right.
So, but yeah, so for the people who are concerned about potential of another residential project there, if the CSD is able to obtain the 55 plus 11, the way they laid it out at their board meeting was that wouldn't be the case. It'd be recreational facilities.
Right, would not be residential. I agree. Yeah. So
yeah, and then so
one thing
would
that's
be something else.
One thing that's different is I've been told by DOT, they've been working on for a year and a half to try to come up with an alternative for the traffic circulation and haven't been able to reach agreement. So I'm not sure what could be changing, but maybe
Yeah,
something.
I know. That's the same thing, and I had that conversation too, and when it was said to me today, I was a little surprised, but,
So more to come. I think that's the bottom line is we don't know yet. And I know everybody kind of becomes impatient with these things, but these processes run their course and it's just the way it is.
we could point to the, Costco in Loomis,
Yes.
which is probably was like 10 years, I think, for that right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there you go.
We got the one at Elk Grove, which I think only took about 4, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Fast tracked, as it were. So,
Yep. Okay, so nothing new on Town and Country Village that I've heard of. They were expected to do a full environmental impact report, which I was told was started. I'm assuming that's progressing because I haven't heard anything different. But if we do get new information on Town and Country Village, which is at the intersection of Highway 50 and Bass Lake Road, if you're not familiar with that, because we've had various presentations at APAC and here talking about that particular project. It does require a significant rezone and land use change. So those are big hurdles to get through, but they're moving down that path. The last thing I want to add that I didn't have here just for notification is that if you are a hazardous waste recycler, as many of us are, that the next opportunity for that was just announced. It'll be Saturday, January the 6th. It'll be held at from 9 to 12 at our El Dorado Hills Fire Station 86 up on Bass Lake Road. And the important thing to recognize, it's appointment only. You have to go online and make an appointment between the hours of 9 and 12 to come by and drop off your hazardous waste. So if that's paint, if it's electronic hazardous waste, whatever. And the other thing to note is it's always subject to rain cancellations or other things. And so we're in that time of year where in January, who knows what's going to happen on January 6th. So it could be canceled, but we will put this into our social media as well as our minutes to make sure everybody's aware of that. Because I know I've collected some stuff for several months now I need to go and take care of. And it's just convenient to go up to Station 86. Great facility. I'm trying to remember who runs that. It's the El Dorado Fire Department?
It's environmental management. But,
Right.
And they are also looking for an alternative site.
Right. We have identified, I think, an alternative site, which
Close by.
hopefully, yeah, if that all comes into maturity, then we'll be able to move off of that site. But right down the road in a very convenient location. So fingers crossed that all that comes to fruition. All right, with all that, that's all I had. So is there any other questions for any of the updates I was able to provide? And if Supervisor Turnbull was here, I'm sure he'd give you an update as well, but he had another commitment tonight. He's up at the food bank because the sheriff is up there and they're handing out items and stuff. And so a very good cause, but so we split duties. He went up there and I stayed down here. All right, so with that, I think we're ready to move to our leadership team progress reports. We always start with public safety. I see Andrew here. Do we have anyone from the sheriff's office? I didn't see anyone on the list. I didn't see anybody that I recognize, Troy or anybody else, right? Okay, Andrew, I think you're up if you're ready. Go ahead and give us the CHP report, please.
HP on it.
It's a different Andrew maybe, huh? Okay. Okay, so I guess we misidentified the Andrew. That was my fault. Let's move on to the fire report. We always have our fire report because we generally have 2 attendees here. I want to recognize Chief Lilienthal and where's Chief Mo?
No, you sent me by myself today.
Oh, okay. He was here earlier, but okay. But anyway, please.
Yeah, okay, so again, Mike Lilienthal, Deputy Chief with Dorado Hills Fire. I guess a couple of reports. One, the weather. Obviously, we haven't had a lot of rain or snow yet so far this year, so we're watching that. I know that we've talked about it potentially being a wet year, and we're hearing reports of what that might be, but as you've all seen, here we are in December 4th, and there's a little bit of rain coming up this week. It looks like on Wednesday, but there hasn't been a tremendous amount of moisture, so we're watching that. A dry winter, of course, means problems for us come next summer. So just something to think about and be aware of. So hopefully we'll pick up some moisture here coming up soon. Last month, we talked about Medic 86, which was an additional ambulance placed in the system when Cameron Park's ambulance shut down. So it wasn't, we didn't lose one, we didn't gain one, we just moved the location of the ambulance in Cameron Park to Bass Lake Road. That ambulance is in service and operating. Everything is running as it should in the system. There was no, other than the ambulance physically being parked in a new home, there hasn't been any change in service levels and things seem to be going great. And for lack of awareness, for anybody that doesn't know, the ambulances move around all day long. So if there's 3 ambulances in the county, they're repositioned to be strategically located to respond to the best coverage they can. And that system is dynamic and it changes all day long. So even though they check in over there on Bass Lake Road, they may only be there for a few minutes and they might move around. But so far, so good. We're pleased with how that transition's going. The other thing, the major change effective today is you can burn without a permit. It still needs to be a burn day. You still need to follow all your normal rules, or you call air quality first to make sure that burning's allowed. Check your pile sizes at 4 feet, and make sure they're attended. The same rules that you would always have, but you no longer need a permit as of today. So we want you to get out there and get ready for the summer as much as you can. The other fun thing is you'll see the flyers on your tables. I think I spread them out, but the Santa Run starts tomorrow here in El Dorado Hills, and you can see the stops on the flyers there. Just remember, this is a food and a toy drive, so we're trying to collect food and we're trying to collect as many toys as we can, and we give them back to Shriners Hospital. We give them to the El Dorado County Food Bank. Great event. We collect a lot of food and toys. We're really looking forward to it. And definitely get your families out there and your kids and grandkids or whatever else you got, because it's super fun to have lots of people at these events here. Wednesday, it does look like it's going to be a little wet. We generally will go rain or shine unless it's absolutely pouring down rain, but that is our plan. This year, there's a QR code you can track where Santa's at. So if we're running behind, just use your phone camera and click on that, and all going well, hopefully that'll work the way it's supposed to work.
Also QR code for donations.
Yes, if you wanted to donate and not come to the food bank or Shriners, we don't keep any of the money. It's 100% sent off to food and toys. So that is an option as well. The last thing I have is on the OES side, which is the other hat that I started wearing recently. We do have several big things happening. We're planning a very large disaster training exercise on December 14th. Really an internal test of the county systems to respond to significant flooding, some other problems that we're going to throw at them that we don't want anyone to know, but they're to challenge our staff and our team in our ability to respond to disasters. We have about 50 people coming. We're going to open the Emergency Operations Center. We have our partners in PG&E coming, some of our friends here. And we're really looking forward to that exercise and that training, and it'll help us be better prepared to serve the community. Looking forward to that. We also have some exciting things going on with evacuation planning and a new software program that the Board of Supervisors has funded. Early here in the next few months, we're going to sync up and give a presentation here, and we'll let you know that what we're doing so you can see what's happening, and we'll be doing a big campaign push for some new opportunities there for better alert and warning of the public. So that's super exciting. So that'll be coming soon. Other than that, we still have lots of sandbags out here at Station 85, should you have the need here in the next couple months, and Station 89, which is in Cameron Park. It also has sandbags, and there's other locations in the county, but for us here, those are the 2 closest sites. That, end of report.
Very good. I just want to add one thing. Originally, that 11 acres we talked about as part of Central was going to be defined for a center for the ages, i.e. a senior center, but it would be multi-use with various things. The fire department had agreed to accept the property with the understanding that there would be a partnership there, because one of the things we want to do is be able to create an alternate emergency operations center in the county. And next to the fire station down here in El Dorado Hills seems to make a lot of sense, because it's moving, away from the Placerville centric area. If something should happen up there and you need to have another operating facility that will run, it's here. Now with the 3 acres that were defined to be held is immediately to the south of this station. So it's adjacent, even on this side of the street. And it's still intended to be a center for the ages, i.e. a senior center. So I'm hoping the fire department is still talking with Betty January in particular and working out all those things. So they haven't spoken to Betty. But I'm hopeful that instead of the 11 acres, of which they only had like 3 acres they were going to use, and it would require an awful lot of grading because of the slopes and stuff over there, that this site over here that still has some spoils from Station 85's construction would be usable to level over there. And then that would be our future Center for the Ages, i.e. senior center. If all of that comes to fruition and with funding and all the other stuff. So I'm still hopeful that that happens at some day when the planning is in place and the fire department will support the partnership again and, make all that work. So things that could happen, right? And hopefully they will. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. So with that, is there anyone who would like to go first of the other members of our leadership team?
I mean, we're all doing it.
Go.
Okay, go, it's go time. Okay, we did not have our APAC meeting in November last month. There was no new meaningful developments that we had been looking at, or nothing from developers that we could address. So we gave everybody Thanksgiving off. This month we'll be meeting next Wednesday back here in this building at 6:30 PM. That would be the 13th, if I'm remembering correctly. We have a couple guest speakers scheduled. We have Matt Smeltzer. He's the Deputy Director of Engineering for the County Transportation Department. He's specifically going to talk about the El Dorado Hills US 50 interchange project. There's another phase of that that's coming along, and they want to get out in front of the public and share what that's going to look like, and maybe some items like estimations of how long it might take, and just what the project entails for right now.
Or estimates.
Estimates. Always up, never down. So, and the second project that Matt's going to talk to us about is the traffic signal project at Harvard Way at Oak Ridge High School. It'll be unique because Oak Ridge High School is, sorry, you're going to miss, they're going to reconfigure the parking lot over there and the circulation element of how they get kids in and out in the morning for the drop-offs. So, so you'll be putting that to bed. You'll be the
Her
last
sister will
one.
get the benefit.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And she'll brag about it. But but it's a complicated project in that they have to integrate with the high school and how the high school operates, and not, how do you do that without disturbing that's if you've ever gone there in the morning, it's a lot of fun. It's dynamic. So so Matt will talk about that. And then Director of Transportation, Rafael Martinez, is going to come and talk to us. I know he's been talking to our transportation subcommittee. And so there's some items that, as they had their discussions, that he thought, oh, it'd be a good idea to come in and provide a little bit of information and educate us a little bit more about what those items and some of the circulation transportation impacts here in El Dorado Hills look like, and where projects can be facilitated and what's kind of on the horizon. And then following that, we're going to have presentation from our transportation subcommittee and a presentation for our environmental subcommittee. And both of these groups have been working offline, educating themselves, doing a lot of research about the impacts here in El Dorado Hills from both development, from infrastructure improvement projects, and just a lot of things that where we touch. When we review projects, it's almost like we're starting from scratch every time we look at a project, because we look at that project and it's kind of siloed how we look at it. And then we go, oh, well, there's these other things we looked at in the past. And so the focus of these two subcommittees is to sort of have a running head start ready to go as we look at projects. So we have a foundation to build upon when projects come in, that we'll already have something we're standing on, that we know some of the ins and outs of how the processes work. And they've been doing a lot of work, and Bob's been helping them out a lot. And so it's something we haven't done before. We've been trying for this whole year to get this going. We're going to have both those reports. We're going to have an update quickly about the Santa Ridge Quick Quack Car Wash, which was approved, and we'll let you know about that. And then a brief update about Central El Dorado Hills specific plans in terms of what's happened with the CSD potential purchase of the property, what's proposed, the parallel path they're pursuing that we talked about a little bit here tonight, and also that they've just issued a third recirculated draft environmental impact report, and it's very narrow, based off of some changes in CEQA that they had to address so that it be compliant with state law. So we'll talk about that. And then the last two items on our meeting agenda are officer election results, voting members APAC vote for officers 2024. And then the final item is our meeting schedule for 2024. We have our first three meetings are a bit different. The building's in use, and I should say this now because I won't remember, I never remember saying enough. The fire department goes out of their way to host us here for these meetings, for the APAC meetings, and it's great for us because as a nonprofit that's not supported by the county, other than the fact that our supervisors attend and staff come and make presentations to us, there's no funds, there's no dollars. So for us to use this building and these facilities, it's truly, it's a blessing for us as volunteers. So thank you to the fire department. Our meeting schedule will be just a little different for the first 3 months, and then after that, we're back to the second Wednesdays the rest of the year. So with that, there you go.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback on one thing. When John was talking about the Oak Ridge High School parking area and the changes there in terms of circulation, one of the projects DOT's been working on for about 4 years now is to get signalization at Claremont and Harvard. We're familiar with that intersection that comes out of the subdivision to the
Stop
north
sign,
of the high
three-way
school.
stop, yeah. Four-way
Three-way
stop.
stop
Four-way
sign
stop.
creates a lot of problems because as the kids dwindle in, they go across the crosswalk. And obviously that stops a lot of the traffic flow to try to get to the parking on the far end of the campus or whatever. So this project, as proposed, would include that signalization, but there's been a question about funding and timing, and we're trying to get all those things worked out. In fact, there's a meeting to discuss all of that tomorrow, I believe it is. So we'll end up hopefully with some decisions as to how we're going to move forward, but there will be some significant improvements off of the campus is what I'm trying to tell
Yeah,
you. That
it's-
lighted
it's a-
traffic signal there and a crosswalk that would be there, I think is going to make a big improvement in terms of overall circulation. So the kids might have to stand there for, 30 seconds or something before the light triggers, but they can't just enter the crosswalk because they have the right of way, right? And it stops everything else, unfortunately. So that was not designed well. I don't know what happened in those
Well,
days, but anyway.
So, and to John's point too, about the department working hard on it for 4 years, I know they're working hard on it because I had a lengthy conversation with Matt at 8:30 at night.
Oh,
From his office. So they're putting in hours and they're looking at these projects and he talked to me for a half hour. So, we know they're working hard and they're really eager to find this solution and get something implemented.
excellent. Thank you for that. Who wants to go next?
Actually, I'll move to dovetail again on
Sure.
John's report. Many of the things pertaining to District 2 will also be covered in the APAC meeting. The areas of concern obviously are traffic, the environmental impacts, especially with the number of developments that are now in the queue that will impact, our District 2 and the residents there. There is one item that has come to light over the last week, and then that is one area in the business park has now been fenced off, and
Oh, yeah.
grading has begun to occur in what is called the Gateway Project, which involves 2 industrial buildings that are really phase 1 of the broader and larger Carson Creek Pacific, Carson Creek R&D.
PacWest.
Yeah, PacWest environmental activity, which basically that latter one represents 1.1 million square feet of industrial warehousing, very similar to what we saw at with the Project Frontier project. I think the fact that the nature of the groundbreaking on the first 2 buildings without actually having gone through the planning commission or actually gone through a process except for a blessing from the planning director that this is allowable to occur. It's certainly a concern with the residents that are most closely impacted by this development. And we'll be addressing that further in APAC and elsewhere, I'm quite sure, along with going to the planning commission and asking our planning commission to take a very active role in examining what's really happening with the 2 PacWest proposals.
And it's technically kind of 3 proposals because there's a parcel split that's proposed that Bob addressed that's up to $1.5 million, but
Well, 1.2 million.
1.2,
Or
well,
1.1.
well, I'm overselling it.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, the property they own. There's also the 2 buildings Bob's talking about, which are part of the business park and that they are pursuing only permits for them and apparently they've been granted, at least the grading permits.
The grading permits,
I have to
yes.
look and track it again. And the third part is that they talked about, and they were here at APAC to talk to us, it's the El Dorado Gateway Project, which is some potential retail use. I think they proposed 2 drive-through facilities, another retail building south of the Tractor Supply Store. So those are elements that are not considered in what the zoning is. But that is since our zoning ordinance was updated, they can include that sort of use, the retail in the, I'm blanking. What's the zoning? Not research, R&D, thank you.
R&D, yeah.
Boy, it's been a long day. So that's in the zoning ordinance now, but then the question is that wasn't there when it was zoned, and it wasn't there when Heritage was approved. And so what are the impacts? Should they be looking a little bit more than maybe we're talking about right now? So All these things, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about them.
I'm
So,
sure.
and then you probably finish up the rest of your district
No,
too.
that's about it right now.
That's
Thank
it?
you.
Oh, wow. That's easy. Minor problems, right?
Okay, who wants to go? You don't like to follow her, so I was giving you an opportunity.
And now she's a superstar.
Okay, you're gonna follow the superstar. Okay, all right. We all will then, okay.
Okay, so starting with Oak Ridge High School, in the week leading up to Thanksgiving break, we had our annual Spirit of Giving Week, which is where the Oak Ridge High School leadership students find a community organization that they feel particularly represents student needs and issues of that year. And this year we had chosen Aspire Kids, so we were able to collect clothing donations, morning cash collections, and we started something called the Soka Senior Fundraiser, which is on Thursday during lunch of that week. We had a whole row of seniors and staff, and students could pay $5 to soak them with a bucket of water. And then I myself was one of the seniors there, and it was really fun. And I got a lot of students to be involved with the school and be involved with giving back to the community. So it was a really great experience. Kind of leaning into something called Flex Time, which is sort of like a homeroom style type of meeting that happens probably once a month, I would say. We had the California Healthy Kids Survey, which is a pretty large scale survey that a large portion of our student population took. And then I'm not sure if the freshmen took this survey as well, but the seniors took something called the School Stress Survey, which had a lot of very direct questions related to student stress. And personally, as a student who's applying to college right now, I thought a lot of the questions were extremely well targeted, and hopefully that data or wherever the results of that survey go is able to help provide this school administration and instructors with more information about the state of students' mental health and well-being. And more related to the El Dorado County Youth Commission, there was recently a peer advocacy training for adults and administrators related to helping support those programs. The El Dorado County Youth Commission has been really supportive of the introduction of peer advocacy programs, and each site has been developing them individually. But EDCO was able to put together, I heard it was really great training to be able to help all those adults involved be able to understand the curriculum of the program and also the need to implement those programs as a class. I heard that Union Mine was specifically really enthusiastic, as well as Ponderosa, and Oak Ridge is getting there. We've been having a lot of on-site conversations with both the Dean of Students and the principal, and so hopefully we'll be able to develop that into either a really strong club or a class next year. And then lastly, just heading into finals, just make sure to look out for the youth of the community. It can be a really stressful time, and we have a lot of resources at our Wellness Center meant to support students.
Thank you. Want to follow up, Kathy?
I think I'm the only one.
We got Cindy, and I've got a couple things, but yeah, do you have a question, Bill?
No, I just have a comment because I live in Four Seasons. And my wife and I live in Four Seasons is a more correct way of putting it. And I just want to comment through you how much we appreciated the Oak Ridge High School marching band coming there, playing their drums, tooting their horns, marching down the streets, and getting a lot of people very interested and excited. As a former member of a high school marching band, muchos años ago, that was very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the recognition, Bill. Yep.
Great. Thank you again. I'm Kathy Guerrero, and I'm the director for First Five El Dorado and the Youth and Families Commission, and I'll talk about both of them. First Five El Dorado, for you who are not familiar with it, these are your tobacco tax dollars at work in the community. They're invested in families of 5, so that all kids enter school ready to learn. Noting that 90% of brain development happens before they enter school, it's a real critical and important time. And we are funders of community hubs to make sure families have support to raise effectively, and especially in times like now where folks are struggling, Christmas time, or the holidays, I should say, and folks may be running short. So I want to make sure that folks know, and I think Cindy puts on the website, there are food distribution sites in El Dorado Hills that are going to be on Tuesdays at the Hills Church. Let me make sure I say this right. On the 12th and the 26th, and from 10 to 11. And then there's also food distributions in Cameron Park. Light of the Hills Church is going to be on Tuesdays between 11 and 12, and then the Cameron Park Faith Episcopal Church will be this Thursday. So Anyone in the community is welcome to come. There is no eligibility. It's an opportunity for you to, or anyone you know in need who wants to round out their closets. As far as First Five is considered, we'll be presenting the Board of Supervisors next Tuesday. So we'll see you there, 10 o'clock time certain. Anyone who wants to learn about our work, tune into the Board of Supervisors meeting and you'll be able to hear a little bit about what we're doing. We're getting ready to launch a social media campaign, so you'll see our evaluation in action that talks about the numbers and what we invest in and what our outcomes are. So that's a good meeting to learn more about that. And we're continuing to develop community advisories. What we're looking for is a lot of times grants are put out in the community and they say, okay, somebody respond. And what we're trying to do as a funder is we're trying to ask the community, what do you want before we put the money out? And so by forming community advisories, we're having community members come together talk about what's going on, especially with families with young children, and say, what are your biggest needs? And then as a funder, we can come in and target that grant opportunity rather just throwing them out. So community advisories are an opportunity for our voice from First Five's perspective, because we're the funder. It has to have lived experience with a family with a child 0 to 5. That doesn't mean you can't be a grandparent, someone who's raised a child 0 to 5. For more information, you can contact our community hub folks, Missy and Jacqueline over at the El Dorado Hills Library, or see me afterwards. The last thing that I wanted to mention is the Youth and Families Commission, which is my other hat. And the Youth and Families Commission is being authorized by the Board of Supervisors, and they're working on their strategic plan. And the primary issue is making sure that kids don't get lost from educational disruptions. And what we mean by that, on one hand, you think about kids that are in foster care or run into trouble with probation. Right now, the big issue, and I don't know if you're hearing about it too, Lauren, is chronic absenteeism. And since COVID, not all kids have come back into school, so not all kids are learning. And so we're real concerned about making sure that we're supporting kids and families and getting their education, graduating from high school, and coming back to take all of our jobs and buy our houses. And so the Youth and Families Commission has been meeting to develop their strategic plan. They had a meeting on November 13th. Had nearly 50 stakeholders in the community, everyone from our CAO to supervisors to department heads come together and say, how can we do a better job? And what they're trying to do is look at our system, and it is pretty siloed. You know, kids in probation are probation. If you're in education, or child welfare, they're over here. And what they're coming together to say is, how could we do a better job for our kids and families? So there are 5 priorities that they're discussing. One is to make sure that we have high services over time. One is to make sure we're talking, not just doing our jobs, but we're connecting with each other. I think a big one is making sure that getting services is not the burden of the families in our community, that we should be advocating and supporting our families and kids and lifting that burden off of them. We need to be able to have measures or evaluation that says we're doing better or we're not in what we're doing, and that we need to support this work over time, because there's been lots of efforts to go and help kids, and maybe they don't always, you know, a leader turns over or we lose money and things not consistent. So the Youth and Families Commission will be doing their last meeting on December 15th, where we'll be doing some strategies and activities that will be impactful in the community. And it might be a future presentation for this board if you're interested in knowing what that roadmap will look like. For me personally, as somebody who's been in the field for maybe a really long time, I think this is huge. I think it's huge to be able to have child welfare talk to probation, talks to education, and the boards of where things are going. Because as a parent, sometimes you don't always know the message, and you don't always know where to go. And I think it's incumbent on us to create that roadmap for them. So looking forward to having that strategic plan put together and hopefully bring it back to this group.
Look forward to that. What time frame do you think that might be completed?
I would say by the January commission meeting, that
Okay.
would be the second Thursday in January.
Okay.
So we could do it in February.
Debbie had a question, I think, right? Yeah.
Green, it's on.
Green means go.
Green means go. So silos, and I don't know if you work at all with the Office of Education,
Yes.
but I know, and obviously First Five, there is a huge problem. I mean, I'm talking mega problem with kindergartners getting into extended day programs. So
Yes.
I only know because I have a grandson who's a kindergartner, and it was all over social media. I mean, and I know, is it a staffing problem? Is it a space problem? there is a problem. I do know that our superintendent is aware of it because I connected people with him because it was bad. I mean, parents were freaking out because, well, they didn't even get notification till a week before. So, and then they got on waiting lists and then like 70% didn't get in. So I just didn't know if First Five works closely on that, maybe with the Office of Education, because there is a problem.
So I can give you a couple answers to that. Yes, First Five does. We are actually employees coming out of what's happening with the extended day programs and access to it. Is my first response. The second is that transitional kindergarten is basically having a 2-year kindergarten, and traditionally you pick up the 5-year-old to go to school. Transitional kindergarten adds additional years, so it's a 2-year kindergarten program. So kids can come in early when they're 4.
Well, he came in at 5 though. He didn't do transition.
So they can come in at 4, and the governor has passed a law that says that this should be available at all schools by 2025. So they're ramping it up quickly. I'm not clear that extended day was as prepared for that this last year. So that is what I understand. And I also understand that they have had staffing and space issues. And the communication out to families was not as timely. And couple that with the fact that we have a childcare crisis in our county anyway. And so, yes, there was a tremendous amount of pressure. I do know that Dr. Mamansala is aware of it. What would be a good avenue to have feedback and preparation for next year?
Well, and I know it's been suggested, Jim, for my daughter, is to put a focus group together of all these parents who went through it this year.
Okay. I am happy to take that back and say, you know what, we're 8 months out from having to do this, 6 months maybe, out from having to do this. I would be happy to take that feedback back and ask the Charter Community School, Michael Gillespie, to say, here's some, and I know that they're talking about doing feedback loops, so I'd be happy to take that feedback back to Michael Gillespie. And if you'd like, before we leave, I can put you in that communication and make sure that I follow up with you.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Thanks for letting me.
Good answer to a tough question.
It's hard.
Okay, so,
There's no one-shot answer.
any more questions on what Kathy presented within the conference room? Okay, so we have 2 hands up online, so you want to call them?
Nikki.
Hand went down. Promoted? Yeah, she's there. She's been
Yeah,
promoted.
go ahead and unmute.
Nikki, can you unmute? We're showing here that your microphone is closed down.
So I was just wondering what was the main topic addressed today?
So she's coming through 2 sources.
So Nikki, you have to shut off one of the sources. Because you're echoing in the conference room here. We couldn't quite understand your question.
So I was
There you
wondering
go.
what was
Go
the
ahead.
the main topic addressed today?
There was so many topics. I'd hate to say that there was a main topic. There's a lot of information that was covered here. Are you a student?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say that the main topic is really an update on the community activities. And that's a broad spectrum of things, all of the community reports, the progress reports. We heard from the fire department. We've heard from several others so far, but that's the primary purpose of this meeting, is to make sure information is readily available to the residents of El Dorado Hills. And this is one way to try to communicate that. The other thing is the updates that come from the supervisor, wherein there are decisions made by the Board of Supervisors, those types of considerations that are important for people to understand how it may affect them locally. That's the other, I would say, secondary reason for the meeting. So hopefully that gives you a response you can work with.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. All right. Autumn, you have your hand up. You promote Autumn?
Go ahead, Autumn.
Yeah, I just wanted Go ahead, you started and then you stopped.
Oh, sorry.
So what,
Never mind. Never mind.
no, you're okay now. We can hear you, so go ahead, please.
I kind of forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay, all right, understand. We all go through that, so very good, not a problem. Have a great evening. Okay, so I think that finishes that report. Yes, it's good, isn't it? Little engagement. I had my suspicions too, what was going on there. Okay, so let's move on to Cindy's report then, because I think we covered everything except the ones I'm going to cover very quickly
Okay.
after you. Yeah.
And this, are you done? Right, okay. Happenings in this December, starting December 1st, all the photos with Santa at the California Welcome Center. It's daily from 4 to 7 p.m. And then also it started on December 1st, it's called Elf on the Boulevard Scavenger Hunt. The kids go out to any participating business and they get a little passport, and then they go to the different businesses and they find the hidden elf in the store. So it's fun for the kids. The parents get to see all the great, fabulous businesses we have around, and it's a win-win for all. So that goes through the 24th. Once the kids complete their passport, they return it to Face in a Book. And the first 100 people kids that turn in their passports, they get a little special gift. And then they can also win all of the passports that are turned in. They draw one to win a big Town Center holiday gift basket in the end. So that's a fun thing down there in Town Center. And then Chief Lilienthal discussed tomorrow starting the 60th annual. That's pretty amazing. The El Dorado Hills Fire Department Holiday Heroes food and toy drive. As he said, the food will go to the food bank and the toys go to Shriners. And starting on December 8th through December 23rd, there's going to be the carriage rides, the horse carriage rides in Town Center. On Fridays, they're from 5 to 8 p.m. and Saturdays, they're from 4 to 8 p.m. And all the proceeds from that go to Young Life and Hands for Hope. And they encourage you to go online and do your reservations. You go to ElDoradoHillsTownCenter.com for more information on that. So I know last year they filled up pretty quick. And then on December 14th, there'll be the annual menorah lighting from 6:30 to 8 at El Dorado Hills Town Center over in the Stephen Young Amphitheater. And then finally now are the farmers market. It usually used to be just at certain times of year. Now it's year round. So that's exciting. It's every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Town Center behind Nibblers and Truck Bicycle. And all of this information is on the supervisor's website if you want more information on that. Link to it.
And it'll be in the minutes, right, with the
Yeah.
link. So if you read the
Link
minutes,
to the minutes, yeah.
click it, you got it, so.
Oh, well, if it's gonna be in the minutes, can I put a little tiny correction?
Sure.
So Santa photos are all different times. I mean, some days it's 11 to 7, some days it's 4 to, so, but there is a calendar on town.
Link to the calendar.
Okay.
And she is requesting appointments this year, just so we don't have 200 people in there at the same time, but you can still walk in.
Okay.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you for the clarification. That helps. And somebody doesn't go down there expecting to be able to get photographed and they're not there that hour, so, yep. Okay, so with that, I'm going to cover the last three items. We're going to go through these pretty quickly. Economic development. On Friday, I received an updated draft of the bylaws that was put together by the CDAC committee. So Supervisor Turnbull and I are reviewing those and providing comments. So hopefully here before the end of the year, we'll be able to come closer to having a final set of bylaws, which will probably be presented to the board then first part of January of next year if everything goes well. So we will have new direction and new emphasis on what CDAC, Community and Economic Development Advisory Committee, is supposed to be focused on. What's their strategic plan, et cetera. So once we have a definition of what's in their bylaws and stuff, we'll give you more of that to share. On infrastructure, we didn't have a report this month, so we're going to skip over that. Good governance, I just wanted to mention the fact that the county, in my opinion, was extremely fortunate in being able to recruit Dr. Matthew Minson as our new El Dorado County Public Health Officer. And it turns out the role of public health officer has kind of been behind the scenes for most members of the public. Most of the time, they're monitoring data, they're looking at trends. Are there issues coming up with new forms of viruses that need to have immunizations, how to communicate, et cetera? But with COVID, that job became very visible and very difficult for a lot of people to respond to. And so I think Dr. Minson brings in a new set of resources, a new set of history and background to deal with those kinds of larger things should something recur. But he has also a lot of other attributes that he's going to be able to continue. So what I wanted to do is just mention he's a physician, an inventor, an author, a decorated and awarded local, state, and federal health official. While at the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Dr. Minson led the creation and delivery of the first national health security strategy, the telehealth report to Congress, emergency youth authorization policies, and was the USDHHS White House Interagency Policy Liaison for Chemical and Biodefense and Countermeasures Innovation. He's got patents. I mean, this is a renowned individual. So you might say, why would he ever consider El Dorado County? Here's the answer. Having visited El Dorado County while honeymooning with his wife, this goes back many years, his wife Kelly, they fell in love with it and made a promise that if the circumstances allowed, they would come back here to live. So the message is El Dorado County sets a very positive impression with a lot of our visitors who do want to come back and visit again and or, given the right opportunity, relocate and live here. So I think that's a testament to how appealing El Dorado County is, the friendliness of the people, the services that are provided. We have an awful lot going for us within El Dorado County. And this is just another measure of how well that's working. So we're very pleased to welcome Dr. Minson to our staff, and more good things to come in that regard. Yeah, I imagine you've had some time to meet with him. He's got a personality. He does. I get a personal one-on-one with him, I think, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it's tomorrow morning. So I'm looking forward to that. We've had a chance from the board's perspective, Board of Supervisors had a chance to interview him and ask some questions and kind of understand, why would you consider this with all of the credentials you've got? He's got honorary degrees and everything else, all kinds of recognition. And the answer was the last one. But I now recognize that when you honeymoon in El Dorado County, it can set a very positive impression, right? Enough to the point that ultimately you'd like to live there. So that was his story, and we're going to stick with it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know him better and how he applies himself, because he has such breadth of capabilities. We don't want to undertask him. We want to keep him busy with all kinds of things. Yes, well, I think we all have a list of things to give him, so we'll work on that together. That sounds great. So just council member items, unless there's any final go backs or comments or questions.
Rachel has her hand up.
Rachel, we're going to promote you to being able to speak to us. So please go ahead, unmute yourself. And
I was wondering what the,
okay, you have multiple devices going on. You have to turn off one of them. Yeah.
sorry. I was wondering what the Oak Ridge's fundraiser was about again.
So Lauren can respond to that, I think.
Last month, Oak Ridge High School did our Spirit of Giving fundraiser, which is when Oak Ridge High School spends a week fundraising for one community organization. And this year we chose Aspire Kids, which is an El Dorado County organization focused on helping support kids and youth be able to do after-school activities or school activities without traditional barriers.
Hopefully that gave you the answer you needed, Rachel. So
Yeah, it did.
Feel free to reach out to Lauren if you need more information.
Okay, thank
She's
you.
got lots of information to share. Let me tell you that. So, and thank you for your participation. You, Autumn, and Nikki. We enjoy having the youth get involved once in a while. This is great. So
Yeah.
with that, I'm not seeing any. Yeah, Pat, go ahead.
How do you make an appointment with the hazardous waste for the pickup?
You go online. We will send out the link.
I'll send out the link.
You click on the link, and it'll give you the application form. You fill out the information, and then submit it. I think it just says submit, and it goes in, and then they tell you confirm for appointment, or they reschedule it as necessary, as I understand it. So
If someone doesn't get the link,
Yes. Environmental management
Environmental management,
systems, yeah.
El Dorado County.
Yep. And we can probably,
I can link that on there.
okay,
And there's quite a extensive list of items that are permitted and not permitted.
Right.
So
it's very, very detailed in what you can and can't bring in for recycling, so. Yeah, but most of the thing, oil and paints and that sort of thing are generally pretty easy. Some of the other stuff that gets a little complicated. Electronics are part of that, hazardous waste. And most electronics they will accept, but things that have Freon in them, they can't take those. Those have to be disposed of separately. So read the list if you're concerned with it. But I have heard from people who've gone to try to get rid of an old refrigerator, for instance. That's not the place to do that. You really want to take that to Placerville.
throw it away.
Waste management. Throw it away. Throwita Way is the address.
Home away from home.
Right. It's not I'm glad that I'm not saying that, but anyway, okay. But they do a great job up there too, and that's all part of our services. You should be through the El Dorado's Community Services District, since they are a
Waste hauler franchise, yeah.
waste hauler franchise. I was gonna say franchisee. Related to that, they send out coupons to everyone who's an El Dorado Hills CSD resident, or annually. I think you get 2 different coupons. One's a weekday, one's a weekend, so you can take stuff up there, not refrigerant materials necessarily, but things that you can take a pickup load or a car load or a trailer load or whatever and dispose of without any cost. So if you haven't noticed, those expire, I think, in May. So-
There's a couple of them. I think there's 3 coupons every year. I think one's for like at home, but the other 2 are for
Right.
at
If
the
you're going to the
MRF.
waste.
So, yeah.
So if you're not familiar with those, look for them the next time they come out, because they can be valuable if you're trying to downsize or get rid of stuff you've just had around too long and don't want to keep in storage or something. That's a great place to haul it up and
Yeah, and
dispose
if you
of
have
it.
the coupon, it's pretty valuable because the rates have increased significantly, so.
Yeah. So with that, any more? Yeah.
I want to
Frank.
close with a thank you to all those who were involved in putting together this deal to buy this parkland. It was a great breakthrough, and we should be really happy as a community that this longstanding eyesore along El Dorado Hills Boulevard, and that's what I refer to it as, is finally going to be a new front door for us, I think, if this comes to pass. So thank you to you, and I know there were lots of folks, I don't know all the details. I don't want to. But I know there was a lot of work that went into that. So my appreciation, I think appreciation from all of us. I've been talking to my neighbors a lot. They are all really expressing a lot of gratitude and appreciation for this breakthrough. So nice work. Thank you.
Thank you. Accolade, and we'll make sure the CSD board members, as I get a chance to meet with them, because we have 2x2s with the CSD board, I'll make sure I'll try to pass that on as best I can as well. So moving on to council member items, our next meeting, the first meeting of the year, is a Wednesday, January 3rd. And you might guess, well, why isn't it on, or might ask, why isn't it on a Wednesday? Because if we made it Monday, it would be January 1st. And I don't think we all want to have a New Year's celebration down here. I mean, it's a great facility, but I don't think we
We'll
want to
probably
do
be
that.
pretty quiet.
And so we looked at trying to get the next week, and that was not available. So in order to keep it in sequence, we have a one-time exception of going to a Wednesday meeting. So it's Wednesday, January 3rd. Please mark your calendars now. I'm aware of, some people may not be able to make that transition. We understand that, but we still wanted to get together and welcome everybody back from the holidays and share what new information is coming out. We have 2 board meetings left in December. So I'm pretty sure there will be some things that will impact what goes on in El Dorado Hills long range. So we'll be able to share those at our January meeting. And then after that, we'll get back on the first Monday for the most part. I think there's one other exception, but we'll make you aware of that before you get to it. So needed to make sure that was known. And since it's kind of a strange day, we're not going to have a guest speaker in January, but we will have guest speakers probably certainly in February and March, and got several of them lining up. So that's good. That makes it much easier when people volunteer or somebody that they would like to come forward and present and share information. So, and with that, I want to welcome or wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Obviously, the party season has started. There's a lot of things going on, and I hope you all have a wonderful, joyous holiday. Merry Christmas, and we'll be back here after New Year's. So thank you.